Welcome, everybody. I am going to call us back from closed session. It is now 7 p.m. and we have nothing to report out from closed session this evening. I'm just going to read this. This meeting is recorded for live streaming and archiving on the district YouTube channel for your convenience. If I could have everybody join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Be seated. Okay. Approval of the agenda. So there is one change, right, that we have to amend. Okay, so should we amend that first?
Yes.
Okay, so there's a change on item number 8. It's a date change from March 7th, 2023 to April 11th, 2023 on item number 8. So can I get a motion to approve the agenda as written?
I'll move to approve the agenda with the correction.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
All right, thank you. Roll call, please.
President Zeta,
Yes.
Diane, Trustee Ferrucci, sorry,
Yes.
Trustee Maselli,
Yes.
and Trustee Grubbs.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to go on to item 8, installation of trustees and admin the oath of office. Go ahead, Dr. Wright.
Good evening. I just want to give the community an update where we are with filling our trustee seats. Our trustees for Area 1, 4, and 5 were scheduled to term in December 2022, which prompted a general election on November 8th, 2022. Our trustee Area 1 and 4 ran unopposed and will retain their respective seats. I also want to share that the Solano County Registrar of Voters notified the Benicia Unified School District that no candidate had applied to serve Area 5 for the November 8th general election. In response, the district's governing board held interviews and provisionally appointed a candidate to fill the seat at the November 3rd, 2022 regular governing board meeting. In accordance with Education Code 5092, members of the community have petitioned this provisional appointment, and the Registrar of Voters and our County Superintendent of Schools has verified the signatures, and based on the verification of the petition signatures, our County Superintendent of Schools terminated the appointment on December 12th, 2022, and a special election has been called on April 11th, 2023. Okay. At this time, I would now like to welcome Lisette Estrella Henderson, our Superintendent of Schools for Solano County, to administer the oath of office for Ms. Sherry Zeta, Trustee for Area 1, and Mr. Mark Maselli, Trustee for Area 4.
Do we want to do them individually or at the same time?
Same time.
First raise your right hand and say I. Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution and the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution that I take this office freely without any mental and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which with the authority granted to me by the Constitution of the State of California, I proclaim you duly elected and installed to assume the duties of a member of the governing board of this.
At this time, so thank you, Mark, for taking on another 4 years, and I'm happy to be here to do the same. At this time, we were hoping Gethsemane Moss was going to be here this evening, and unfortunately, she got stuck at a meeting in Sacramento, so she can't make it this evening, but she has a proclamation for you, Mrs. Ferrucci, that we were going to present to you. And I'm sorry that it's not here because it's with her. So we didn't know all this was going to happen. So it will be here waiting for you at the office. I'll make sure that one of us, somebody contacts you and lets you know when you can come and pick it up.
Thank you.
And in the meantime, thank you so much for everything, Thank you so much. And I think Dr. Wright would like to say a few words.
Trustee Ferrucci, I also want to thank you, and my short time working with you, I've appreciated our conversation, your depth and breadth of knowledge of public education. I enjoy our conversations and the perspective that you bring to the table, and just want to thank you for your service. I know whatever you decide to do next, you're going to make an impact. And again, I just want to thank you for your service and everything that you do for the Benicia Unified School District.
Oh, go ahead, Liz. No, I'll go after you.
I just wanted to say thank you. We've been working together for a long time, and you've sat on many, many of my committees, and so I very much appreciated your perspective and your support and your help. So thank you for everything you've done on behalf of all the students here in Benicia.
I want to say I really appreciate Diane cares deeply about this community, and she cares deeply about the schools, and she put her money where her mouth is. She was on a lot of committees. She spent a lot of hours meeting with people in a lot of different groups, and not everyone does that. Some people get on like on a board and they just do that, but she went to everything and she dug deep, and she was very instrumental in helping out with a lot of stuff. And I really appreciate her heart for the community and for the schools. And the fact that she spent her whole life in education. She, very commendable in respect. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to say just a big thank you to you, Diane. You have been so helpful to me. You have so much knowledge, such good ideas. Your history here in Benicia is formidable. You are really, you're going to be missed. I want to thank you so much for your mentorship, for you always had an ear. You were wonderful, kind of schooling me in the role of a board member, and I just appreciate it so much. You'll be missed.
And thank you, Diane, for all of your work on the school facility committees and master plan. We're building some great school facilities that will last for generations to come here in Benicia. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I really just want to say thank you to everyone. I think the new relationships and the new friends that I have formed over all this time, it's pretty daunting when I think about, as Cece said, how long I've been in education. I think I did my 51st opening of school this past September. Wow. So do the math, guys. Wow. It's been a while, but you know what? It's amazing that it's still as exciting and as fresh as it's been since my first day of school. I love the children and I love my community. And I feel honored and I feel privileged that you allowed me to serve this time and to serve the children in so many different capacities. And I just want to let you know I'm in town. Always happy to come stop by and visit, and I'll let you know what the next chapter is shortly. But I will tell you right now, immediately, it includes 5 little people.
Oh, nice.
Which I am really looking forward to spending more time with and not having to say, no, Grandma's got to do this instead. So I'm just going to play Grandma for a while. So
Awesome.
I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome.
Thank you.
I'm going to present you with this clock. Okay.
Yeah.
You want to grab it from that? We can't. I was just going to flip the clock. So okay. Facing that. No, you guys are going to okay. We can. Yep. Oh.
Sherry.
Because we have a long agenda ahead of us. Yeah, she's. Thank you again, Diane. Bye.
Item 16.
Okay, thank you so much for coming back so orderly. I appreciate it. And this is a little too close to my mouth. So we're going to reconvene. Bingo, 7:24. At this time, we're going to do some reorganization of the board. It's our annual meeting that we do this at. And I am going to pull up now we can see that we're missing Dr. Moss. So we're not, we're going to go forward with this as much as we can and fill in the positions as best we can. So the first item up is at this time, are there nominations for the president? Oh, I'm sorry. Is there anybody here that would like to take the role of the president? No? No? Okay, so hearing none, and with Dr. Moss not being here, usually she would be the next person to take over. But so if no trustee responds or expresses interest, I'm willing to continue serving in this role, but in order to do so, we need to revise our board bylaws to allow a board member to serve more than 2 consecutive terms when another member is unable to serve that role. Would someone like to make a motion to amend Board Bylaw 9100?
I would like to make a motion to amend Board Bylaw 9100.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
President Zeta.
Yes.
Trustee Maselli.
Yes.
And Trustee Grubbs.
Yes.
Okay, so then at this point, and I apologize, there's just a lot of steps to this right now. Are there nominations for the office of President of the Board of Trustees?
I'd
Oh,
like to nominate Sherry Zeta for president of the board.
I'd like to second that.
thank you, thank you. Roll call, please.
Yes, President Zeta.
Yes,
Trustee Maselli.
Yes.
And Trustee Grubbs.
Yes.
okay. Then we're going to go on to our second portion, which is for clerk, which is currently Dr. Moss's position. At this time, and we have to do the same thing, I think. We have to amend it.
I think you can ask the other 2 trustees if there's an interest there, and if there's not, then you would need to amend the bylaw.
Okay, is there interest? I hope there's interest.
Okay.
Oh, that's good. Okay, So at this time, are there nominations for the office of clerk of the Board of Trustees?
I nominate CC Grubbs as clerk for the Board of Trustees.
Thank you, and I will second that.
President Zeta,
Yes.
Trustee Maselli,
Yes.
and Trustee Grubbs.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Now we're going to move on to representative to the Solano County. We're looking at all those groups that you have in front of you. Representative to the Solano County School Board Association.
The
Wait.
board meeting calendar.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Okay, at this time, do we have a motion to appoint the superintendent as secretary to the Board of Education? And that would be Dr. Damon Bright, superintendent as secretary of the Board of Education.
I move to appoint Dr.
Right?
Superintendent as
Secretary.
secretary to the Board of Education.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Roll call?
President Zeta,
Yes.
Trustee Maselli,
Yes.
and Trustee Grubbs. Yes.
All right. Now, the adoption of the Board of Education regular board meeting calendar for the 23-24 school year. Do I have a motion to approve the BUSD regular governing board meeting calendar as written?
Have you seen it? It's,
I am on the island.
okay. I'm on it. I don't.
Technical difficulty moment. Please bear with us.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
And while they're looking for the calendar for next year, there is a change that we were thinking could be beneficial to everybody, and that would be to start our closed session at 5 o'clock and then start our open session at 6 p.m. So that's in there as well.
The only question I have on that is how would it affect the public? I mean, would they be able to get here?
Well, that would be 6 p.m. So at the best, I mean, they would hopefully be able to get home from work at that time, or they can tune in, I would think, at home if that's their choice. But certainly at 6 p.m., I would think we would be able to have folks here. Is there discussion? Let's talk about it.
I like the idea. I think it's a great idea. If we're ready for a motion, I'll also move.
I just, I'm not against anything. I don't know. I mean, does it maximize the public? Public access for time-wise. I'm just curious if the current thing is better, or if that actually would help more people be able to. Because I get it, you're finishing earlier, most likely, because you're starting earlier. And does that benefit people who want to be here, public-wise, to get out earlier, or is it too hard to get here? But I guess that's really not something we can answer tonight or anything. That was just the first thing that came, because I didn't know.
No, I understand what you're saying. I think, I like the idea as well, but if you have reservations, you can.
One of the things we might need to consider is, would that be a hardship for you, Mark, getting here at
Not at
by
all.
6?
Not at all. Could we vote yes, and then if there's any public dissatisfaction with the concept later, maybe revisit it?
That's a good idea. We can,
Possibly
so
change it.
amend it.
If people come and say, hey, you made it difficult
Yeah.
for me to be able to get. Okay.
Okay.
Then I'm good with it.
Okay, so can I get a motion with that amendment included in it?
I'd like to make the motion that the regular governing board meets at 6 PM going forward with no,
It would be closed session at 5
closed session at 5,
and 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock for the open session.
Correct.
Okay.
With the.
With the amendment that if we hear from the public that it is a hardship, that we reevaluate.
Excellent.
I'll second what she said.
Excellent. That was a good point, and I think that gives us an out if we run into a problem. That's awesome. Thank you. Roll call, please.
President Sada?
Yes.
Trustee Maselli?
Yes.
And trustee Grubbs, and that's with the amendment of revisiting.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, now we're talking about the positions and representatives as liaisons to different groups in our community. Just going to get to my other sheet here. Okay, so the first one that we have is the representative to Solano County School Boards Association.
Yeah, that for me would work because it's at night. Obviously, I can't do things that are during the day.
Okay,
So yeah, I can do that.
so at this time, are there nominations for the representative to Solano County School Boards Association?
To for the to be the representative to the Solano County School Boards Association.
Excellent, and I will second that. Roll call, please.
President Sada?
Yes.
Trustee Maselli?
Yes.
And trustee Grubbs?
Yes.
Okay, our next item is representative to the district and city liaison. We need 2 people in that role. And are there any nominations for the representative for the district city liaison committee? It is, let's see, I can actually read it to you. Representatives of the city of Benicia and the Benicia Unified School District meet 2 to 4 times a year to collaborate and discuss issues that impact both agencies in an effort to improve services and coordination of efforts for our community stakeholders.
You know what time or-
I do not. It's, okay, all right, so I'm okay with doing it for one of the people. Mrs. Grubbs, are you interested in doing that? And it's okay if you are not, because we can also add Gethsemane.
And they meet
Moss.
once a month,
2 to 4 times a year.
2 to 4 times a year. Yeah, I can do that.
Okay, so do I have a nomination for the representative to the district and the city?
I nominate Sherry Zeta and Cece Grubbs to be the 2 liaisons to the district city.
And I don't know if we can second our own. Can we
Well, one of
second?
you has to.
Okay, I'll second.
President Sada?
Yes.
Trustee Maselli?
Yes.
And trustee Moss? Excuse me, not Moss. Grubbs, sorry.
Yes.
Okay, moving on. Representative to the Valero Advisory Panel. And it's a request to have 2 people. Are there any nominations for the representative?
Can you let us know what that entails?
Yes, I can. Okay, representatives from the city, school district, and refinery meet 4 times a year to keep all informed of the workings and safety of the refinery. Okay, so that's what it is. But timing, Mrs. Martinez, isn't that during the day also?
You know that one, on the blue one that I gave you, do you have that?
Tuesdays at 4:30. On the, so February 8th, March 8th.
Well, that
April
was this
12th.
year.
Oh,
So
oh,
we're having
oh, sorry.
the
It,
It's
this last year, it was at 4.
in-person meetings, once a month, it looks like, without May and without July, and without September, and without November. So about half of the time, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 meetings. And they're at 4:30, so it is after work.
We want to put Dr. Moss in or anything. Did she let
She
us-
currently sits on it now, so it can roll over to the following year.
Did she
Okay.
express an interest in that at all?
I'm sure she'd be fine with it we can revisit it if she's not, you know, but we need 2 people.
We will have a District 5 in April.
Yes. Not particularly,
Dr. Moss.
just, okay.
As long as we
Um,
have somebody.
I don't want to just take on too much at one time.
That's fine.
Okay, so do we have a nomination, please?
I would like to nominate Dr. Moss for the Community Advisory Panel.
And do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. Roll call, please.
President Sada?
Yes.
Trustee Maselli?
Yes.
And Trustee Grubbs?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next item, representative to the Board Policy Committee, up to 2 representatives. And the Board Policy Committee meets to review and update board policies to ensure alignment with current mandates and state and federal requirements. The work of this committee ensures that the district policies remain current and updates are ongoing. This committee also considers new policies being proposed at the local level. The committee meets quarterly.
I'd like to do that again. I did it before.
Okay, and is there any other interest, Mrs. Grubbs? No? Okay, we're just gonna put you in there for right now. So do we have a nomination?
I nominate Mark Maselli for the Board Policy Committee.
Okay, thank you. I'll second.
President Sada?
Yes,
Trustee Maselli?
Yes.
And Trustee Grubbs?
Yes.
thank you. Okay, representative to the District Curriculum Council, up to 2. And a primary goal of the Board of Education is to support student achievement by continuing to expand curriculum development, assessment systems, professional development opportunities, and programs that support student success for the organization. This committee works to ensure actions taken by district staff support the vision for student achievement and high-quality teaching and learning. And it doesn't say on here when it meets. Let me see if it says on here.
We meet typically around 3:30 to 4:30, or 3:30 to 5, either on a Tuesday or Wednesdays, once a month.
Okay, is there a nomination on the floor? No. Sorry. I've been on the committee. I can step up and do that. So now do we have a nomination on the floor?
I would like to nominate Sherry Zeta for the District Curriculum Council.
I'll second.
Thank you. Roll call.
President Sada?
Yes.
Trustee Maselli?
Yes.
And Trustee Grubbs?
This is I have like so many papers going here. Okay, so you got me. Next up is the representative to the Facility Steering Committee. And that is, let's see. This committee meets to review bond construction needs and next steps and has representatives from multiple district departments, school sites, and the board. The main priority is to make recommendations to the board and meets as needed. And that one meets, it's once or twice a year. So, okay. Can we get a nomination?
I'd like to nominate CC Grubbs for the Facility Steering Committee.
Okay. I'll second that. And roll call, please.
Trustee Benicia,
Yes.
Trustee Maselli,
Yes.
and Trustee Gibbs.
Yes.
Okay, next, ooh, this is the last one, guys. You've been hanging in there. Representative to the California School Board Association Delegate Assembly Election. And we need one person.
What does it entail?
It entails, let me let you know. Okay, let's see, each year member boards elect representatives to the CSBA Delegate Assembly. The Delegate Assembly is a vital link in the association's governance and sets the general policy direction. Working with member boards, the board of directors and the executive committee delegates, the delegates with terms that end in 2023 are up for election. Delegates elected in 2023 will serve a 2-year term beginning April 2023 through March of 2025. There are 2 required delegate assembly meetings each year. The dates are in May and in November. Well, on here it states May 20th and 21st. These are probably accurate dates, okay? And then November 28th and 29th. May 20 and 21. Okay. That's the one that we can come back to it. We have to, this is like reorganization meeting. We can't, and that's the last one of the meetings. Can we split people on that? You cannot split people. Okay. It's one night, 2 days, 1 night. Okay. Is there a way to see if Gethsemane wants to take that on? Or, I'm sorry, yes, Cece? May 20 and 21. And then November 28th and 29th.
I wish I could.
We can talk about, can we bring this back? We'll bring it back. We'll talk to her, we'll talk to Dr. Moss and see if she's interested. And if not, okay. Well, we're in a pickle. If she is not interested, I can do it. I would, if she's not interested. And again, we're going to have a 4th, but we start this committee, this thing earlier, so we need to do it. So can you put that? Is there a way to put that? If she, put her in first.
An alternate.
And then I would be the alternate. So do we have a motion?
I'll move to nominate Dr. Moss for the California School Board Association Delegate Assembly, and if not, then Sherry Zeta is the alternate.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second? I'll second. Thank you. Roll call. Yes.
Trustee Maselli,
Yes.
and Trustee Grubbs.
Okay, so now got through that. And you got it all, Mrs. Martinez?
I do, and it's recorded as well.
Okay, thanks. Okay. All right. So thanks for that. Thanks for stepping up. And we are going to move back to our regular part of the meeting. It is student reports are up next. And I would like to invite Navia Avalos, who I saw yesterday, from Liberty High School, to let us know what's going on at Liberty.
Good evening, President Zeta, Superintendent Dr. Wright, fellow trustees, and cabinet members. For the last month, we have been working on projects that express our gratitude and appreciation. For example, we have received a Solano Food Bank donation barrel. We hope to break our last year's 280-pound record. We want to thank all the parents and families that came out and joined us for our fall festival. We want to say a special thank you to the families that donated food, snacks, and especially the cotton candy machine. Advisors had a great time competing against each other, where Mr. Lobo's advisory, my advisory, won. We hope to have another family festival this spring. We had our first basketball buddies meetup with Robert Semple. LHS students, along with their advisors, went to Robert Semple to hoop with some younger students. This program helps foster cooperative play, build positive relationships, and gain the sense of pride of giving back to the community. We had several LTI field trips. A group of students visited Solano Community College's welding program. We had students meet with the owners of Brickspace. Some students went to Benicia's water treatment plant, and finally another group went mountain biking in Marin. We look forward to our next round of LTI trips. We want to thank Solano Community College for coming and assisting several student signups for spring college classes. We hope to establish a college quiet room where students can attend their virtual classes without having to leave Liberty's campus. We are currently having a door decorating contest, and this year's theme is Winter Wonderland. Voting closes Friday afternoon, and I'd like to invite all of you to come by and cast your vote, and thank you to all those who have already voted. To those who haven't, room 2, my door. just putting it out there, mine. But lastly, we want to thank Dr. Wright for going sailing with us. We had a great opportunity to sail on the bay on a replica of the Matthew Turner ship. We have another sail planned in April. On behalf of Liberty High School, we'd like to wish everyone a safe and joyful holiday break.
Thank you. It's delightful. And I have to say, Cece and I, Mrs. Grubbs and I were at the school yesterday, and those doors are incredible. So much thought, and I voted. Not going to say who, but I did vote. So yeah, if anybody takes time to go over there and see it, it's really something special. So, okay, thank you so much. Okay, and then we have Jinjin Gao from Benicia High School, the ASB Vice President, and Brianna Beniak, sorry, ASB President. So whoever would like to go first.
Good evening, President Zeta, Superintendent Mr. Wright, fellow trustees, and cabinet members. My name is Brianna Beniak, the ASB President.
And my name is Jinjin Gao, the ASB Vice President for Benicia High School. On Thursday, November 10th, we have a Veteran Day ceremony in the quad during lunchtime to honor the veterans who serve in our country. Ruby Bridges Walk to School Day was on the following Monday, the 14th, and we began on 7:50 a.m. before school starts, and we have few student speakers bringing attention to the Ruby Bridges Foundation. We hosted intramural volleyball tournaments over lunch a week before Thanksgiving break, the November 14th through the 18th. On Sunday, December 4th, students came in early in the morning and decorated the school with decorations and ornaments.
Okay, and this week we are holding our Wellness Week activities during lunch to help students feel less stressed about their upcoming finals. On Monday, it was Pajama Day, and we played a movie, Home Alone. On Tuesday, we provided students with scones and tea. And on Wednesday, we planned an intramural dodgeball tournament during lunch. And today, we provided students with hot cocoa. And tomorrow, we are having holiday karaoke, and there is also a student and teacher designed wreath contest that students will vote on at lunch tomorrow. And also, we are wearing ugly sweaters or holiday sweaters tomorrow, so that will be super fun. And next week is our finals week, and following that is a 2-week break, so we are all very excited. Thank you.
I bet you are. It's going to be a well-deserved break for all our students and all our staff. And thank you for sharing that information about Benicia High School. Ruby Bridges, I was in, that was a great day. And you mentioned a couple other things that I have taken part in. So it's wonderful. So thank you so much for the update. Appreciate it so much. Now, young man and ladies, if you would like to leave to go take care of homework or whatever else you would like to do, you are free to do so at this time. So thank you. You guys have a great holiday. Have a good break. Okay, next up, it will be Dr. Wright with the superintendent report.
Good evening. We have great partners in our community, and tonight I want to acknowledge two of many. I want to thank the Lions Club of Benicia and also Valero for their generosity in supporting our students within our community. The Lions Club donated $500 to the Benicia High Speech and Debate Club, and Valero donated $75,000 to be used for our elementary STEAM wheel and also to support our Benicia Reads program. So we're very grateful for their donations, and we really appreciate it. I also want to acknowledge Dr. Beatson for introducing the Parent Speaker Series. We had our first session Thursday, December 3rd. The topic was Ending the Silence, which focused on the symptoms of mental health conditions and the resources available in our community. Our next session will take place on January 25th from 6:30 to 7:30, and the topic is Planning Early for College, Choice and Research. So please visit our website and look at the upcoming sessions that we have planned. And also, if there's some other topics that you would like us to bring forward, please feel free to contact Dr. Beatson and share your ideas, and we'll see what we can do to put those topics for our community. I had an opportunity to spend some time at CSBA with our governing board and executive cabinet. I was grateful for the opportunity to connect with our team, but also network with educators up and down the state, learn about some of the celebrations and challenges that are being faced throughout the state. The workshops that I attended really focused on things that were really relevant in our community, things that we're focusing on: equity, inclusions with student with special needs, governing during challenging times, and really building community partnerships. I, like many other school leaders, seem to really have a focus on unifying our community as we so that we could provide optimal learning conditions for our students. Regardless of the national political climate, the local political climate, the Benicia Unified School District will continue to be focused on STEAM, literacy, social emotional health, and equity. Students, administrators, teachers, community members really appreciate your partnerships. We recognize the challenges that we're facing post-pandemic, and we'll continue to work together to make sure that we provide those optimal learning opportunities for our students. And lastly, I just want to say happy holidays. We have a lot to celebrate. I want to wish everyone Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, and a Happy New Year. I hope you find some time to spend with your loved ones, and enjoy this special time of the year. And we'll come back in January and continue forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Wright. And now we're at board reports. And me? Oh, no, you guys could start. It doesn't matter.
Trustee Ferrucci asked me to share for her because she had to go. She was at Liberty, and the club, the Seroptimus Club there, raised over $1,700 for families in need. They did an outstanding job, and was very proud of that. I want to say what a great job they did. We all really appreciate it.
And it's new there this year at Liberty. It's a new program there, so that's wonderful. Mrs. Grubbs?
I had just a wonderful time going through Liberty yesterday, the other day.
Yesterday, right?
I think it was, yes. The program there is so compelling, so engaging, and so forward-thinking. We are so lucky to have a principal like Mrs. Lewis, who is kind of all-encompassing. She really thinks out of the box, and those kids are so engaged. The one thing that I found just so interesting was that students want to come to Liberty because of the way that education takes place there, and it is outstanding. The other thing I wanted to mention was that I was also at the CSBA annual conference, and I tended to go more towards the political climate sessions. It was I find it very interesting what's going on in Sacramento and in the country politically. And also, I went to a number of sessions regarding the financial issues facing the public schools in California. So it was very meaningful to me, not only as a board member, not only as an educator, but as a person living in California. It was quite interesting. Thank you.
And I'll just piggyback on what Mrs. Grubbs said. The CSBA conference was amazing. It's always up to date with current things that are happening in districts up and down the state of California, and it gives you new ideas and some really valuable information that we can bring back to our district, and it's just an invaluable opportunity, and I thank the district so much for sending us to that. And Mrs. Grubbs and I did go to Liberty, and that was wonderful as well. And then they had yesterday was a meal, like you broke bread, and they had tables set up all throughout the hallway and chairs. Some people even brought in placemats for their table. It was adorable. And each teacher brought in like mashed potatoes, turkey. It was all different kinds of foods, like a Thanksgiving meal. And we got to break bread with them. And it was just a lovely time. The kids were so engaged and so happy to be helping and working together. So it was a really nice thing to see. And with that, I'm going to move on to comments from members of the public. All functions of the board meeting, including public comments, will take place in person. Members of the public may address the board at a regular meeting on any item within the board's jurisdiction. Speaker cards are available on the entrance table. Please note the item you wish to speak to and submit a card to the board secretary. The board president will call an open session general comments. Government Code Section 54954, period 3. During the public comment item, comments for items on the agenda will be called during a specific item. Comments are limited to no more than 3 minutes per speaker, or the board may limit the total time to 20 minutes per item with the timer displayed on the monitors. By law, no action may be taken on any item raised during the public comment periods, and matters may be referred to staff for placement on a future agenda of the governing board. Please be reminded to keep your comments respectful, as students may be watching the board meeting. Thank you. And with that, Mrs. Martinez, do you know which one came in first? Was it Miss Martinez, or it was? Okay. So the first person that I would like to call up to the podium is Miss Alina Martinez. If you would come up, please.
I'm actually going to read her statement because it means a lot to her. And so, I am the youngest of 3 girls. My parents worked long and hard to provide us with the education they felt we deserved. We all learned and created a bond with education in our own ways, but my eldest sister, well, let's just say education became her. She is and always has been one of the smartest people I've ever known. This goes far beyond a younger sister admiring her older sibling. She is the embodiment of education and all it can do to benefit the world. She is passionate, motivated, and resilient when it comes to education. She attended UCI for her bachelor's degree in psychology, then went on to get her master's in social work from USC. She utilized her MSW as a social worker for Contra Costa County Child Protective Services for 3 years. Though the job was hard, and I can see the impact it had on her, I also saw how much she grew through her experiences and how passionate she remained in protecting the children on her caseload. My sister is resilient. She is strong, powerful, and an intelligent Latina woman, and I admire her for that. She helped coach me through my college years, and though I know graduating was an accomplishment of my own, her support meant the world to me. As a former student of the Benicia Unified School District, I can say without a shadow of doubt that this board needs more women like my sister. She will always stand up for what is right for the students in this community. No matter the consequences, she will place their needs as the priority. Isn't that what the school board should represent, the students? She earned her right to be on this board. She was elected to be on this board. She faced every trial and tribulation that all the other candidates faced, yet she prevailed. She deserves to be a member of this board to continue using her knowledge and skills to help BUSD better serve the students within our community. I am deeply saddened and disappointed with what has transpired and the cost it will have for our students. And at the top it says, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world, Nelson Mandela. And she's speaking on her sister, Ariana. And just from my point of view, I feel it's a shame that somebody has questioned the integrity of the people that did the interviewing. And I would really, myself, would like to know why somebody didn't run earlier and save the district $60,000 to $80,000.
Thank you. Okay, next I have been asked if I have David Nicholson and Amy Hirsch, and I've been asked, or if I was going to be able to allow you to each take the 3 minutes to one person, and I will allow that today. We've not done that ever, I don't believe, but I will allow that. So I believe, David Nicholson, you're going to speak on behalf of you and Amy.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity for allowing me to appear here this evening and speak. I have a statement that I would like to read into the record, but before I get to that, I would just like to say that I was very impressed with Ariana myself. I thought she was a fine candidate. She seemed to be superb, frankly, and this is not about Ariana at all. Dear BUSD Board of Trustees and members of the public, as you know by now, a special election has been ordered for BUSD Trustee Area 5. I was one of the principals behind the petition calling for the special election and would like to explain why it is necessary. On November 3rd, BUSD interviewed 4 candidates for an open trustee vacancy in Area 5. 3 of the candidates have children in Benicia schools, myself included. The 4th candidate, whom the board selected, does not have children in our school system. The 4 sitting board members also do not currently have children in our school system. Given that the principal stakeholder group of BUSD are the parents of current students, we were rather stunned that the board openly disregarded this primary stakeholder group and rejected all 3 candidates, all qualified parents, who had volunteered for the position. What is particularly galling about this was the fact that the parents who were interviewed were simply civic-minded volunteers who had responded to a letter from the district sent to all the parents of BUSD students asking for someone to step up and to serve on the board. That and the fact that the board openly admitted during its deliberations that it lacked parental representation and paid lip service to the notion that not having parents on the board was a deficiency. Yet, despite inviting parents to apply, despite the fact that 3 well-qualified professional level people accepted the invitation and stepped up, the board shockingly chose the only candidate with no kids in Benicia schools and who incidentally was not even the highest scoring candidate. That led to some serious head scratching, naturally. But then after the appointment, we discovered a possible explanation. The board's chosen appointee is the daughter of the executive secretary to the board and chief assistant to the superintendent. The board knew of this material fact before appointing her and failed to disclose it. This is highly significant because the board's chosen candidate would possibly have to recuse herself from various votes, such as those involving salaries and working conditions of BUSD employees, effectively disenfranchising Area 5 voters on these topics. The board's decision not to disclose this fact, coupled with its selection of someone with comparatively minimal ties to the district, and who also was not even the highest rated candidate, raised serious concerns about the legitimacy of the entire appointment process. In fact, we have submitted a request for information and documents under the California Public Records Act in an effort to gain more insight into the board's decision-making process, and we may take appropriate action depending on the results of that inquiry. In the interim, the law provides only one method to challenge the board's formal appointment: a special election at the district's expense. We have children in the schools and do not take the cost of the special election lightly. In hopes of avoiding all of this, we met with the superintendent and board president before starting the petition process, and we urged the board to vacate its appointment decision before it became finalized, citing the conflict of interest issue as a valid basis for reconsideration. We were direct and specific in raising the concerns regarding the total exclusion of parents, the failure to disclose the relationship between the appointee and the board secretary, and the potential conflict of interest it raised, and the related disenfranchisement of Area 5 voters that would result. We also explained that a special election would cost the district approximately $60,000, and that it was in the best interest of our students, teachers, and school community to vacate the appointment. In the ensuing conversation, it became clear that the board and the superintendent were not particularly receptive to our position, and in the days following the meeting, there was total silence, indicating that the board did not intend to take corrective action and thus forcing us to move forward with the petition process. We quickly discovered that we have tremendous support from the voters in Area 5 and in short order gathered over twice the number of signatures needed to trigger the special election. We could have collected many times that number of signatures given the reaction we received, particularly from Area 5 parents who heard the facts. The special election is a vital part of the democratic process and is available for exactly the type of situation that has arisen in this case. Given the serious concerns regarding the board's deliberate exclusion of Benicia parents, as well as the trust and legitimacy issues raised by the appointment process applied in this case, the voters of Trustee Area 5 should decide who best represents them. Hence, the special election is necessary. Thank you. And I'd like to submit this into the record for tonight's meeting.
And Raul Martinez.
I'm Raul Martinez, Ariana's father, and I just found out tonight that she was, that she was removed from this position, and very disappointed. Obviously, they don't understand, that she stands on her own 2 feet. I mean, as far as my wife being part of the school, being with the superintendent. I mean, I think she stood on her own 2 feet. It sounded like you guys voted on her because of her knowledge. I mean, nobody's really seen the things she's gone through as far as being a social worker. I mean, I've witnessed the things she does for her kids that she helps. I mean, I personally went to the Goodwill and went with her to pick out a suitcase for a child that was 15 years old that had all his stuff in bags and had no suitcase. So we went out and bought him a suitcase, and she put all his stuff inside the suitcase so that way he'd have a suitcase to take from home to home where he was, being moved. And I mean, this my daughter is someone that like I said, she stands on her own 2 feet. Everything she's done on her own. And just because she doesn't have a child, that doesn't mean that she doesn't have a heart, and doesn't have a heart for children and for the students of this community. So to me, I was a bit disappointed that she was appointed, and then I feel you guys have the power to appoint. I'm a local 1173 president, so I mean, I know how if someone is appointed, usually they stand behind their appointment. And I don't know if she was asked to relieve her appointment under duress or what have you, but like I said, I'm just finding out this tonight. I didn't prepare any kind of a speech because I didn't know that she would, I thought she'd be being sworn in today, but obviously, this it's just a disappointment to me. That's my say in this whole matter.
Thank you. And did we have another person speaking? Oh, there we go. Okay, I am going to call Lori Grundman up to speak.
Just quickly, I'm a little bit disappointed by some of the comments about non-parents. I think that people don't have to be parents to apply for a position with the board. I think that sends a terrible message for people in our community, and I support Ms. Martinez in this role. I think she's highly qualified. I think that we should support her. I think it's terrible that we're saying that you have to have a child in our school system to serve on our board. I think it's terrible that people are saying that.
Thank you. I just want to let everybody know we don't communicate back and forth with the speakers that come up and do public comment. So we're quiet, but we're hearing you all. We just can't interact. Thank you for all the comments. At this point, we are going to move on to item number 14, approval of the consent calendar. Background information on these items is provided to the board prior to a meeting. A common motion takes place without discussion on roll call vote unless discussion of items is requested by the board member or members. So, and then there's a couple things I'll have to pull out and we'll put back, we're going to vote separate on, but at this time, do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar as written?
I move to approve the consent calendar as written.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
President Seda?
Yes.
Trustee Maselli?
Yes.
Trustee Gross?
Okay, thank you. And now at this time, we have some resolutions that will require a separate roll call vote. Item D, resolution number 22-23-07. Do I have a motion? Oh, okay. Excellent. Okay, and then we have approval of resolution number 22-23-08. And finally, approval of resolution number 22-23-09. Can we get a motion? Yes. Yes.
7.
Thank you.
And that's President Seda?
Yes.
Trustee Maselli?
Yes.
And Trustee Moss? Excuse me, Grubb, I'm gonna keep doing that all night. Grubb, sorry. Yes. Okay. And then E,
Yes.
22-23-08. President Seda?
Yes.
Trustee Maselli?
Yes.
And Trustee Grubbs? Yes. Thank you.
And one more.
I just have to scroll to each one to get.
That's
the
okay.
correct vote. And then F, 22-23-09. President Seda?
Yes.
Trustee Maselli?
Yes.
Trustee Grubbs? Yes.
Thank you. So now we are going to move on to public hearing and action. So I am going to adjourn this meeting. We're going to turn this over to Mr. Ray Hill, our CBO, and we're going to adjourn this meeting to a public hearing, 8:19.
Great. Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and present the information as part of the public hearing. Go ahead and take any public comments if there are any, and then you can go back into the regular session to consider approval of the justification report. Yes. So state law gives school districts the authority to charge school facility fees on new residential and commercial industrial developments, and the government code authorizes school districts to collect that facility fee on future development of no more than $4.79 per square foot for residential and 78 cents for commercial. That's considered a level 1 fee. And that level 1 fee is adjusted every 2 years according to the inflation rate as determined by the state of California. So we have conducted the justification report and attached it here in the board packet. And it shows that our district does meet the requirements of state law regarding the collection of the school facility fees. So that has been included here as part of this public hearing, and the board will then be asked to approve the attached resolution to establish the facility fees of $4.79 per square foot for residential construction and 78 cents per square foot for commercial industrial construction.
Okay, or I don't see any comments from members of the public, but is there any discussion? Do you have any questions? No? Okay, so I'm going to bring us back to our meeting, 8:20. And at this point, I would like to know if there's a motion to approve resolution 22-23-05 to establish school facility fees.
I move that we approve resolution 22-23-05.
I'll
And-
second.
Thank you. Roll call?
President Seda?
Yes.
Trustee Maselli?
Yes.
And Trustee Grubbs? Yes.
Excellent. Thank you, guys. Now we're on item 16, presentations and communication. First, I would like to invite Dr. Beetson to speak on the human growth, development, and sexual health. And I do see that I have 2 members of the public that do want to speak on this item. Would you like, I can call you up at this point. Eunice, please come on up to the podium. Oh, you're 16B? Okay. And then Heather Graves, are you on this item? Okay, please join us.
Hi, I'm Heather. I haven't had a chance to hear your take on this. I've only seen what was published on your website. I found some of it alarming, disconcerting. I have 3 grandchildren in Benicia Unified School District, elementary, middle, and high school. I raised my children here. They all went through the school system. And I understand that you're under the gun of the state of California, that they dictate in many ways what you have to teach, what the curriculum has to include, how it has to be phrased. I also understand that as far as, and I'm just going to call it sex ed, because come on, that's what it is, that doing the beginning course of that in 5th grade is a city option. You guys get to decide whether that happens to my granddaughter, whether she gets to hear about gender reassignment, whether she gets to have an agenda shoved down her throat that she's far too young to hear, or if you're just going to let that go. Then we go on to the high school, and I understand those are mandatory. I don't have to like them, but they're mandatory. If my daughter doesn't want them, she can opt her kids out. We can talk to them at home about it. But for a 10-year-old to be subject to this, they're not even close to puberty. I mean, can we let them be children just for a while longer before we start all this nonsense? I don't understand the push that I'm seeing in not just our school district, but multiple school districts. The gender identity push when we've got math, science, and English scores that are at the bottom of the United States heap. We're looking pretty good in California. Benicia's, up there in California, but California is down at the bottom of the heap. So we can't be patting ourselves on the back that we're doing a fabulous job on academics, because we're not. And I think to divert all this attention to this equity, when this should be a personal discussion between a child and their parent, or a child and their therapist, or a child and their doctor, but not a child and their teacher, and certainly not something that they are made to feel less than. My high school and my middle school students report to me that they are made to feel wrong because they don't have a pronoun, because they don't care about a pronoun. They love their friends that are LGBTQ. The problem is there's a division being created, and it's being created by the school. The more you fracture these kids into groups, whether it's racial, economic, political, sexual, the more you create a divide. You're sitting behind the American flag. You swore to hold up that standard. I'm almost done. That is the flag that all of us are united under, not the LGBTQ flag. That's the flag that our kids need to have a reference to.
Thank you for your comment. And then I am going to invite Dr. Beatson to speak on this item, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much, President Zeta, trustees, Dr. Wright. Ms. Rice sends her apologies. She had something come up and couldn't be here this evening. She and I were going to do this presentation together, so I'm going to try my best to live up to her standards. I have several presentations on the agenda this evening, and I just want to let you know, I'm going to go through them relatively quickly, but stop me at any time if you have questions. These are all meant to be contextual and frameworks for work that we're going to engage in this spring and we'll be bringing back for you in more depth. So tonight, really what I wanted to do around human growth, development, and sexual health is to shed some light on what the state ed code frameworks and standards require of us as a school district, both in sexual health and in broader contexts. Talk with you a little bit more about what our current practice is, and I want to address some of the concerns that we've heard over time from our community, and we have a couple teachers here that are going to get up to speak about some things that they see and hear in the classroom, and then talk with you about next steps.
As in everything that we do, we ground our work in our mission and our vision and our beliefs. And I just want to point out a couple that I think are pretty relevant to this conversation. And one is that every student has a voice that deserves to be heard, and that we want to create safe and welcoming schools to help students and staff reach their full potential. And I think that those two points really speak to the conversation we're going to have this evening. And then again, also grounding us and helping us direct and guide our work is the equity statement that we've brought before you earlier this year, really talking about making sure that we're taking a close look at our practices, our instructional practices, our policies, to make sure that we can lift all the students in our community up. So the next few slides really are going to just highlight some of the text in the Ed Code. This one is California Education Code Section 51930, and it is called the California Healthy Youth Act, or CHIA for short. It was brought forth in 2016. There's really 5 points. You're going to see them on this slide and the next slide. And they're talking about knowledge and skills. And medically accurate and age appropriate is really the context of CHIA. And it's around reproductive health, HIV, healthy attitudes, adolescent growth, identity, body image, sexual orientation, marriage, family. And also talking about a thing that's really shifted from the last standards and Ed Code that we had was really this idea about medically accurate. And so in all of the documentation, from the standards to the frameworks to the health curriculum that the state is recommending, has been vetted and developed with health professionals. And so it was in conjunction with educators and health professionals to get to that medically accurate portion. But it's all about giving kids knowledge and skills so that they can make their own healthy, informed decisions. Another big change that we have in the CHIA, which is instructional materials shall be age appropriate, medically accurate, as I said. And then there is a piece in here that no matter what curriculum we use, they must align and support the purposes of this act and not be in conflict with them. And the piece I have bolded here is instruction and materials shall affirmatively recognize that people have different sexual orientations, and when discussing or providing examples of relationships and couples, shall be inclusive of same-sex relationships, because we know that students in our schools come from all different family types. And so we want to make sure that they're all valued and seen and heard. And that instruction and materials shall teach pupils about gender expression, and so forth. But again, it's all at an age-appropriate level. This next Ed Code is called, sorry, hold my back out, and so every once in a while I tweak it a little funny. The Fair Education Act, and this came out in actually 2011. And this is, if you think about sexual health, that sits inside of this Ed Code as well, because this is broader. And this talks about any curriculum and materials that we use must fit in this Education Code social content statute. And that talks about portrayal and proportion. So the materials we use should be accurate representations and portrayals of the kids and families that we have in front of us. We have to make sure that we are representing and demonstrating the contributions of all groups of people, and that includes people who have different sexual orientations, males, females, different genders, different I'm sorry, my brain just went, all different diverse groups. And then, of course, we can't have references to brand names and so forth. So that's just a broader act than the CHIA. So currently, we have human growth and development in 5th grade. It used to be called family life. In 7th grade, taught in science, and in 10th grade in biology. All of our curriculum is quite out of date, and it's not in alignment with the CHIA requirements. Last year, the high school piloted a new curriculum called Rights, Respect, and Responsibility. They will continue to pilot it this year before we bring it to you for adoption. The elementary and middle school teachers reviewed a new curriculum last year, but we have not yet piloted or implemented it. Before the pilot happened at the high school last year, we had a parent evening with a trainer. We trained our teachers with a trainer. So one of the requirements in the CHIA is that our teachers are well-trained, and there's actually an independent trainer that trains in all the recommended curriculum from the state. They did an amazing job. Our teachers felt very confident in teaching that, and the parents that came on the call learned about the curriculum, things they could do to support their children at home, and that was very well received, and we would do that again. So I'm at the point where I really want to just talk about some of the things that we've heard, some of the concerns. One of the things that's come up in past board meetings is this idea of indoctrination. And what I want to really reassure all of you is that we are not forcing ideas on people, but instead we are giving people knowledge and skills and wanting them to make their own decisions, but to be ensured that we are valuing and seeing all of our community and all of the kids that are in front of us and their families. Another thing I want to remind everyone is that sexual health does have an opt-out clause. So families who prefer to do that on their own can opt out to all or part of sexual health. All of the lessons and all of the work inside of these documents really encourage thinking and decision-making. So we're not telling kids what to think, but we are providing information so that they can make their own decisions. Knowing that their family values may be different than some of the information that's presented, and that's okay, and their families are super important in this whole role, in this whole prospect. And then at this point, I would like to invite up two of our esteemed fifth grade teachers, Ms. Harley and Mr. Birkin, and they're going to share just a snippet of some of the information and ideas that they're hearing in the classroom and things that their teachers in fifth grade are requesting.
Hi, everybody. I'm Melissa. Thanks for having us.
I'm Hale Birkin.
Melissa Harley, Hale Birkin. We're both fifth grade teachers, and actually, we have historically taught this in fifth grade, and we're sort of here to give you that the sort of perspective from that end, right? So we both have taught the subject that we euphemistically called family life, and we call health, human health and development, right? That's what the focus is. We're pretty clear that fifth grade has an age-appropriate focus, so the conversations that we would have in fifth grade would be really different. I want to say that up front. As a fifth grade team, we feel really strongly about how important it is for us to have some medically accurate information. So it isn't, it just sort of keeps us all aligned and heading in a direction that's just solid and accurate, and that feels pretty important to us. And we're also, as a team, concerned that we're so kind of far out of compliance for what the standards are right now. And I want to say the curriculum-ish thing that we're using at this time is about 20 years old, I think. So we feel really strongly that the kids deserve this, because not having the information in a vacuum is really alarming, disturbing for us. If you want to add to that, Hale.
Yeah, so I just want to say I've been teaching family life, was what we used to call it, for, gosh, about 20 years now. And it is one of the true privileges of my career to be able to teach kids about something that they are honestly dying to know about. They really want to discuss it. And they are discussing it. It's being discussed out on the playground. It's being discussed on the yard. And that's where you get into trouble. We want to give them accurate medical information. We use scientific language when we're talking about these things. And we're very clear on what we're teaching. Honestly, the idea of, I know one of the things that is a concern is, should we teach this in fifth grade? And my answer is no, we should teach it in fourth grade, because honestly, most of the girls coming into our classrooms are either have already had their periods or are going to start very soon. And so fifth grade in some ways is too late, but at least it's being dealt with. And I think it's very important for them to get accurate information about what's happening in their own bodies. And they're curious, they want to know,
and they're worried, right?
Yeah.
So there's a way to be able to offer just, like I said, very clear, age-appropriate information to relieve some of their worry. And the other piece that we all feel strongly about that's always been a really big part of the opt-out piece, because of course I want to be respectful of families too, and we come from a whole range of experiences and cultures, and I respect that. And we, the term that we've used forever is every kid needs to develop their board of directors. They're trusted adults, preferably your family, your parents, your grown-ups that you trust, that you can get accurate information from, so that like school and their teacher is not the only place to get information, but making a distinction of what information you can trust. So it's not your cousin, it's not your neighbor, right? And that those conversations about your family's value system and what the expectations are as you go forward, that resides at home. And we'll often say, like, hold on a minute, that's the question you're asking is sort of outside the range of what we talk about in human development in 5th grade. So it's a really good question for someone on your board of directors. That's a really good question to go home and have a conversation at home. So there is no assumption that we're sort of taking that part over. It's just we're able to offer in a setting that is safe, with teachers that are respectfully trying to give accurate scientific information.
Yeah, and I totally agree. I think that opt-out option is very important for families who just aren't comfortable with it. They have that option. But for the kids who are there, it's an opportunity for them to hear accurate information. And in 5th grade, we are very clear that it is about your changing bodies. We're not talking, it's not
about behavior. Right.
Yes,
We're not talking.
that's not the thrust of 5th grade education at all. It's about your bodies and the bodies of everybody around you. And so in a lot of ways, it creates empathy for, hey, this is what some of your classmates are experiencing right now, and allows them to understand it.
And with the benefit of that being, look, we have really specific ways that are reasonable for us to have conversations about that. And here's all the ways that you need to be respectful of the other people in your life that you're going through things, you feel uncomfortable, other people are too. It's not appropriate to comment on that. It's not appropriate to go out and have these conversations out on the playground. Who are the people you can trust to give you accurate information? What is your family's beliefs and value systems around the topic? Because like I said, it's super complex. So we, over time, even with the limited curriculum that we've had, been able to, like, in a really respectful way, just give information. And I think the other piece that we want to be, the other shift that's happened in the last 20 years is that our understanding that we need to honor the wide range of humanity that we live around. Human beings are complex, and all of I know there's a lot of hubbub about gender this, that, and the other thing. Like, the truth of the matter is the kids come to us, their families are here with us, and there's a whole range of experiences that people have, and a whole range of feelings and identity and all sorts of things. And there's a way in our little 5th grade land to give kids a safe place to understand, have empathy, feel comfortable, ask questions, connect with their families. And I just feel like that opportunity would be, it's a really powerful opportunity.
And it would be sad if it were lost in 5th grade, honestly. I think it would be a disservice to our children. Thank you.
Can I say one thing about that piece? If we don't offer them that information respectfully, with all those right understandings, they'll look for it elsewhere. And where they look for it, in my opinion, is terrifying. that's online for my kids to have questions and then go look there instead of have a whole range of people they can ask. That's frightening, and I think that they deserve better from us, so.
Thank you both so much.
Thank you.
So in summary, they took my in summary slide, which is just a reminder that all curricular materials must have that diverse representation, and there isn't an opt-out for that. However, in the sexual health, there is, and so families that have concern around that can and use that option. So next steps, we will review and adopt a sexual health curricula, provide training for staff and parents. We will do a pilot before we do that. Our recommendation is continue with 5th grade human growth and development and sexual health. And then in 7th and 10th grade, of course, it's required. We'll continue to have a robust curriculum adoption process. We've linked the evaluation tool here before. Mrs. Rice has brought that to you before. We base it off of what the requirements are for the state of California. And we will be bringing forward recommendations for curriculum adoption in January.
Thank you.
Questions or?
Any questions? No? Thank you, but don't go far because you're next again. We're going to be discussing consideration, wait a minute, grading for equity. And I do have a speaker, Eunice. I apologize. I'm sorry. Come on up.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity to speak. I want to speak about grading for equity. I'm not an expert on this, but I've done a fair amount of reading on critical race theory and equity. And from my reading, I've come to believe that, excuse me, equity in education will not raise standards. It will lower them. High achieving students will be encouraged to come down to the low achieving level. I assume that all of you have children or grandchildren or nieces or nephews or whatever who are school age. And just think about this. If they don't work to receive a good grade, and they won't work, they may not work hard at much of anything in life. And they'll be on a path to being practically failures. I don't think you want that for the children in your life. And just think of in the future, once these kids grow up and they run for political office or they're running banks, they're doing whatever, they will be the low achievers who will be running all these institutions. What will our life be then? Do you really want low achievers to be in those positions? So I really would ask you to reconsider thinking about equity programs, whatever they may be, and I'm sure you're going to discuss that, and think about the long-term impacts of implementing them. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Eunice. Got it. Okay, Dr. Beatson, you can continue with the grading for equity.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much. Again, this is a beginning of a conversation that we will continue through the spring and hopefully through next year. So it's really just setting some context. I want to let you know that we started talking about grading and grading practices and what was working and what wasn't working pre-pandemic, when we took a team of teachers and administrators to the county office to hear Rick Wormelli talk about grading and grading practices and helping us think a little bit differently about how to calculate a grade, what goes into a grade, all of those things. We continued it last year with a book club. We read with a team of teachers a book called Grading for Equity by Joe Feldman, and again, helping us think a little bit differently about how do we grade students, how do we report on what they know and are able to do. And so this presentation, again, is just to give you some foundational information about a conversation that we will continue with our staff in the spring and into the future.
Again, I want to have everyone understand what our current practice is and the current context. And I want to talk a little bit about problems of practice with traditional grading systems. And that is national. It's not just here in Benicia, but some things that are arising with traditional grading systems, and then talk about some potential next steps. I won't go through all of this again, but again, we ground everything that we do in our mission and vision. It is our guiding light, and so all of these are what we are striving for in this district. And our equity statement really talking about taking a deep and close look at our practices and our procedures and our policies, and how do we remove barriers so that all students can succeed at high levels, because that is what we want. So our current practice in Benicia Unified is that our elementary schools use a standards-based grading scale of 1 to 4, 1 being far from standard and 4 exceeding standard. So they've identified essential standards, and students are reported on their mastery level on those standards. And our secondary schools use a traditional grading system of a 0 to 100, A to F system. And you can see that grade scale there. Last June, we brought forth an updated board policy on grading, and I've pulled out just a few elements to remind you of what's in there. One is that grades are an impartial, consistent observation of a student's academic work and mastery of course content. That's the purpose of grading. We are not supposed to be grading or putting into a student's academic grade elements that aren't direct measures of course content. So work habits, conduct, attendance can be marked elsewhere, but they shouldn't be mixed in with the content grade, and that all assignments shall be available for makeup with full credit. Some current facts and data. What we know is that we have a lot of students at our secondary level that are receiving D's and F's in courses, and many teachers' classrooms, we have 20 to 50% of students getting D's and F's. And I put a D in there because at the secondary level, in order to have a course be accepted for UC or CSU admission, it needs to be a C or above. And so I want you to keep thinking about that as we go through this presentation. A D will get you through graduation, but it will not be accepted at a UC, CSU. And so if one of the things that we're trying to do is increase the number of students who are UC, CSU eligible, we need to be thinking about that. The purple box really just talks about some inconsistencies, and these are very typical inconsistencies that happen all across the country. Some teachers allow redos and retakes for work that's not done well, others do not. Some people accept late work, others do not. Some people have extra credit, others do not. So when a student moves through 6 classes a day, there's lots of differences in what makes up a grade. The next several slides, and I'm not going to go through all of them, but they are just interesting ways to rethink a traditional grading system. And so the blue box on the left is really the effect of a 0. So if you have a student in a class, you've given 6 tests over the course of a semester, they've received a perfect score on 5 of them, got a 0 on another because maybe they were not in school that day, never made up the test, whatever. And then the overall average grade is an 83. And the question raised is, does that 83 an accurate portrayal of what the content mastery is for that student? In the green box, you have all the things that were taught in English class, a high school English class per se, in a quarter. Main idea, theme, thesis, close reading, annotating text, cultivating writer's voice, and the student walks away with a B with no other marks on. And my question is, does that tell us what the student's proficiency level is with those topics and those standards? And I remember when we moved at the elementary school, at the upper elementary, from grades to standards-based, we got to be very specific because a student might be really great at one of those, but not great at another. And it helps us understand better what the student can know and be able to do. I like the purple box here, which is imagine the reverse. And so remember, we have a 0 to 100 scale. a 90 to 100 is an A, an 80 to an 89 is a B, right? A 70 to a 79 is a C, a 60 to a 69 is a D, and a 0 to a 59 is an F. So it is on a mathematical ruler scale, it counts a whole lot more to get an F. And this just, again, in helping people think differently, if that was reversed and an F was a 0 to a 9, a D was a 10 to a 19, a C was a 20 to a 29, a B a 30 to a 39, and an A 40 to 100, so that same sort of range of scale, that proportional influence of those grades would be very different. And so it's just helping you think, if that was flipped, what would that mean? Okay, I think I hit this little thing underneath. The blue box here is just another, it's kind of silly, but if you take the average temperatures of a city in Virginia, 85, 87, 88, 84, all very close. On the fifth day, they forgot to take the reading, and so the average is 68.8. Doesn't really match what the average true temperature there is. And so it's just, it's again, helping us question some of the practices, which is what, when we think about how we want to create an equitable system for students, the first thing we have to do is start to just examine our own system and ask some questions. The AP board scores for AP tests on a 1 to 5 scale, not on a 0 to 100 scale. And all of that gets to this box on green. So when we have potentially inconsistent or misaligned practices, here are some of the impacts that may occur on equity. You may have students whose scholarships are at risk. They may not be eligible for sports. They may, their car insurance rates could be different. What colleges they may get accepted to, because teacher A, B, C, D all has different practices that go into those grades. And so that's the equity piece of grading that I think we're going to have to really have some hard conversation around, is how, when we grade, are we consistent enough so that students have equitable opportunities for their next step in life, or any of these types of activities? This one I thought was pretty interesting. These are just two students. You have student A and student B there. You have the categories that a teacher likely will have in their grade book, and they're weighted the same in the blue box and in the green box. However, the student scores vary differently. So student A gets high scores on homework, lower scores on tests, high scores on classwork, and really high score on participation, but the tests where we're measuring content knowledge is low. They get a 76. The student in the green box doesn't do all their homework or participate that much in class, and their classwork is not great, but gets a really high score on tests, what's measuring the content, and they have the same score. And so again, it's just two examples of how two teachers can score work differently, and how how students can participate in class differently and come out with the same grade, but are two very different students. One of the concepts that we will grapple with in our study of grading is really that grades, the purpose of grades, are a way to report what students know and able to do at the end of the journey, but not necessarily the path that you took to get there, because it may take some students longer. They may not learn on that first day, but they may learn on the 5th day, and at the end, the learning occurred. So how do we show that and represent that with our current grading system? And so then here, what I have mapped out is proposed next steps. They're pretty aggressive. They're probably going to take longer than this. But the idea is that we would put some teams of teachers and administrators together to study our practice. Let's do some new learning around what's out there. Let's look at what our current practice is, take an audit of what that is. We may reach out to some experts in the field to help us think differently. We will try some small shifts that people are interested in trying, and then hopefully hopefully next spring, but it may have to get pushed out, that we may be looking at revising our grading policy. But it would be done walking alongside teachers, bringing them into the room, having those conversations together. And so really the purpose of tonight was just to start to talk with you about the conversations that we will continue to have with our staff and our administrators. And by the way, I should have said this earlier, but we've had some teachers come forward from our secondary level that said, we need to do something about this. The parents are confused. We're not able to clearly articulate what students can know and be able to do, especially as we go from middle to elementary to middle, and then middle to high, and class to class. And so they're really asking for having this conversation. So any questions?
Thank you. Anybody? No?
Okay. I gotta take a drink.
Thank you. Next up is the LCAP update. Dr. Beetson, yeah, take a drink of water.
Ms. Martinez, can you flip my slide back to the beginning? Oh, I could do that. I have the clicker. I got it. I know you all get nervous when I put slides on here because there's so many of them, but I'm trying to go fast.
Great job.
So again, thank you. This is something I typically do around this time of year, just to give you an update as to where we are with implementation with our local control accountability plan. And it will roll right into Mr. Ray Hill's budget presentation, so we try to tag team this a little bit. As you know, last May, you approved and adopted our LCAP. It got approved by the state of California, and I just want to let you know where we are in its implementation. I won't say this slide again, or this one. But both of those, the mission and our equity statement, are really grounded in our 4 LCAP goals. Just to remind you, we have 4 LCAP goals. We are in the second year of implementation of a 3-year LCAP. And we have 2 academic focused goals, literacy, humanities, and math and STEAM. One that's focused primarily on social emotional learning, and one on equity and opportunity. But I do want to say, if you read through those goals carefully, equity and opportunity is laced and interwoven in all of them, because when we can create opportunities for all students to succeed and remove barriers so that all students have access, we do better by everyone. This slide is sort of a cheat sheet of the actions and services that are inside all 4 goals of the LCAP. I need to remind you that the items in bold are the big ticket items that we've been paying for with one-time funds. So if you remember, about 1.5 years ago, we started getting very generous grants from the state of California in one-time buckets. And so Mr. Ray Hill and I and our LCAP team have done a very good job of laying those grants side by side to stretch out those dollars for multiple years. So we've been able to continue the one-time nature over several years. Okay, that won't go on forever. And we've known from the beginning that we're going to have some hard conversations about what are we able to build into a general fund? What do we need to end? And so one of the things that we've tried to do very deliberately over the last couple of years is collect some local data on each of these items so that we could see their impact, because everything that goes into the LCAP really needs to be grounded in data. Is it working? Is it having the intended outcome? So I know there's a lot of data slides on here, and I will say that I'm not going to go through all of them. Yes, sir.
Going back on the social emotional learning,
Mm-hmm.
the bold stuff. What is Care Solace?
Care Solace is, we call it, it's like a concierge service, if you will. So if a student or any member of their family is in crisis and they don't have the capacity or ability at that moment to try to navigate their own healthcare system, to get a counselor, to get a therapist, to get someone on the other end to help, they can call and connect with Care Solace, and Care Solace will take their information and go connect them with a therapist. And there's a couple of things that happens. One is they can help direct them, and two is they'll do something called a warm handoff, is they will actually stay sort of on the line with the person until they can connect them with someone. Absolutely. Did you want me to go through any of the other items on this slide, or are you pretty familiar?
Through all the rest, that was the only one I didn't.
Okay. So again, one of the charges that we have to have in the LCAP, I almost said the elephant development, the LCAP development is to really pay attention to data on how things are working. And so there's many data slides after this one, and there's a bunch of links that have more data slides in there. This is kind of our summary. So what we've noticed in our data, our local data, is that we have an increase in elementary counselor wellness center visits, and our mental health, we have an additional mental health clinician this year, and we had one last year as well. They're able to service more students. And so that's all really great news. Our wellness center, the students, when they enter the wellness center and then when they leave, they take a survey. And so we have the data on how many students are visiting. And then the other really impactful is not that we're only serving a lot of students, is that at least 87% of them at every single site say they feel better after they leave the wellness center. And so we have that data. It gets sent to us from the county every month so we can track how that service is working. Another piece of data that you'll see in the next upcoming slides is that we have an increase in services for our elementary students in academics for K-5. We've been able to increase those services, go up from just first through third grade was what we were serving before, and we've started to be able to do some mathematics support as well. So we see more students, which is great, and they're doing really well, and we're seeing growth in their data. The other place that's new is in, we're doing some direct service with our multi-language learners. And so we've had classes at our sections of ELD at our middle and high school. But in addition, this year with our TOSA, Brenda Strassner, who was a former Matthew Turner teacher, she is doing direct service to our our 1s and 2s EL students, and that's having a great impact. We're seeing academic growth on the NWEA assessment in every grade, and so that's a growth data. Doesn't mean everybody's meeting standard, but they're all growing, which is what we want. And that surpassed the projected growth. What they say we should be growing, we're growing more than that. Another piece, this is statewide and national. I just read something from Superintendent Tony Thurman. Chronic absenteeism remains really, really high, and that is post-pandemic. And so we're talking about why is that? What is keeping kids from coming to school? Our suspension rates at this point in the year are down significantly. That's good news for us. And another real point of celebration is that on our REACH survey, which is given to all 6th through 12th graders, we have seen a significant increase in response in students' sense of belonging and feeling like their classrooms are culturally affirming. And that data is on one of these upcoming slides. And you know that's been a focus for us for the last couple of years. And so we're seeing that pay off in that survey. So unless you would like me to, I can talk about any of the data on these slides, but they're there for your review. This is, like I said, this is our local data. We identified what data we wanted to collect with our LCAP group, which is made up of BTA executive board members and parents. And so we went through every single action and started to pull what kind of data do we want to be looking at year after year. And so that's what all of these next slides are here, and I'm happy to pause and go through anything that you would like me to. No? Okay. But here you can see sense of belonging. In 2019, we were at 19%, and last year, spring, 52%. And so that's a huge
a huge jump. And so we're really proud of the work our teachers are doing in creating that sense of belonging in the classrooms. These slides, the progress monitoring slides for the NWEA and CASP, I did a presentation on, I think it was the last meeting we had. So this is the same information, I just put it in here for you to review again. The other piece in this presentation is to just update you on a few actions that are built into one of the grants, which is called the ESSER 3 grant, and we're required by law to bring it back to you every 6 months to update you. You approved the plan October 29th, 2021. We revised it in May. I brought it back to you then. And then I'm sharing with you that we are on track. We've kept those actions and services, and we're on track for spending and services with what's written in the ESSER 3 as of right now, which are our elementary counselor, our wellness center staff. We were able to increase wellness center staffing using these fundings. We have, it also pays for our lower class size or no combination classes at the elementary schools, and some professional learning. And so we're on track with all of that. Nothing has changed since I brought it to you last. And time for the good news, and then I'm going to hand the mic over to my friend here, Mr. Rahill. But we've just received 2 more grants, or they're 1 grants that comes in 2 parts, a learning recovery grant and a discretionary instruction grant. It's going to be about $5.2 million. The good news is, with the work of Mr. Rahill, if we decide as an LCAP team and a board that the actions and services that are in our current LCAP are working and we want to continue them, we will be able to continue them all for at least 1 more year with this new money coming in. So that's good news. And again, it's just sort of mapping out how we expend these one-time grants. We will be starting our LCAP stakeholder engagement when we come back from winter break. Okay. Any questions? All right, thanks.
Moving on to item 17, our action items. First item, I'm going to introduce Mr. Rahill for some financial information. Please, thanks.
We have this item for your action tonight to review and approve the first interim financial report for the district. It's kind of a check-in point. We do another second interim financial report in March before we start wrapping up the year towards June. So it's a check-in. Things are going according to budget. We just presented this same financial information as part of the unaudited actuals at one of the last school board meetings. And so we're using the information from the state approved 22-23 budget and current information from the state. This financial report does provide for the state's reserve for economic uncertainties and our local board policy reserve. So in that case, the district does provide a positive certification for this 22-23 first interim financial report. So in the packet, it does have the pie charts, which break out our revenues and expenditures. And we've added some additional documentation in there with our employee counts, our full-time equivalencies, otherwise known as FTE. So right at about 469, which is what it was at the last reporting cycle. We've added a few additional pieces in the packet in regards to technology needs, deferred maintenance, and book adoptions. And so I just wanted to check in with the board and ask for your direction if you want me to just kind of go through each slide, or do you want me to highlight some of the new information that's included? Highlight? Okay. So if we can go to, we'll just go to that first page, the summary of FTE. And if I can bring it up here, there's a tab that says staffing summary. And it's probably about 5 or 6 in. Yes, there we go. And so we've included over the last 5 years with our current 22-23
budget of FTE, full-time equivalency, basically our number of staff. We have some of our staff are part-time, so we add them together to come with the equivalent of one full-time employee. So you notice that in the earlier years, it was floating around 430, and more recently, it's above 460, closer to 470, and that's due to the state's ability to pass on all the COVID relief funds, which are turning into the stimulus funds, which, as Dr. Beatson mentioned in the LCAP, we've put together our rolling 3-year plan on programs and services tapping into those funds that we're using to provide some additional staffing. And so, as she mentioned in her presentation, the good news is with the last round of state one-time funds, that if the district chooses through this LCAP process over the next 6 months, that if we wanted to continue doing what we're doing now, we would be able to do that. If we wanted to change things or add things, we'd have to take a look at that and see if there's some prioritizing that we would need to do. So that gives you an idea of the different staffing levels. The next several tabs go into detail of all the different types of staffing. And after that, what we've done is we provided individual pie charts for more detail of our expenditure categories. And we'll just look at one, maybe the first one on employee benefits. It is right after all of the FTE tabs at the bottom, probably about halfway through the document. And you're able to scroll over. Yes, perfect. Yeah, so our employee benefits that we pay for all of our employees, it's about 15.8 million. And so this tab kind of breaks that down to all the different levels of what those are. Biggest piece is our retirement plans for our employees, then followed by health benefits. So those are the biggest chunks. There are other types of benefits that are provided, not to every employee, but at least to some Social Security and Medicare for classified folks. Medicare applies to both dental, workers' comp, and some life insurance. So kind of brings a big giant number like 15.8 million, gives it a little bit more detail as to what makes up that number. We've done that for the other expenditures, and so that's in your packet. So that is some good detail to take a look at.
Ask on the services and capital outlay.
Yes.
Professional services, I would assume a chunk of that is legal. No?
Yeah. So what we did there is we're the way that the state requires us to code things is on that first one. And Ms. Martinez, if you can go to the one that says services and capital outlay, it's a few over there. You go. So we have another chunk at 6.4 million, and you can see, utilities, insurance, solar loans. The very top one at professional services, what we've done is we've kind of peeled the onion for you, and on the very next tab, we've split out that professional services of 3.3 million. So it gets better because I knew you would ask. And but there is another chunk that is categorized as school program services at 2 million, which is still a question, which we have another slide for. So you can see on that page, there's software, there's your legal costs, transportation, and other. So if we go to the very next tab, this kind of takes all of those services and stuff down to the more understandable level, and half of that goes towards special ed services at just over $1 million.
Non-teaching special ed.
Correct. Yep.
And busing?
No, busing was on the other page. These are more of specialized contracted services that aren't provided by employed staff. There are some non-public school costs as well.
Right, I was saying, you said that, that makes sense. Thank you.
And what we have provided new in the packet is we've done a little bit of outreach with our directors and some of their staff at the school sites. And so at the technology tech refresh plan is we wanted to start to put together some documentation about what our needs are, both currently and in the long term. And so we have a couple guests with us tonight, and actually, Bruce, if you would like to just come up and say a couple highlights on our district tech refresh.
Good evening, President Zeta, Dr. Wright, board members, cabinet members. So we kind of put this together. I worked with my team to put together roughly what we have out there, what's going on right now. For like the top one is just sustaining what we have currently in technology. We reach out to the team. I have a tech committee made up of teachers, one from each site, kind of get their input and talk to them what's going on, what's working, what's not. So that's where that's at. And then the bottom one is mostly what we need to get every classroom to a standard, what we would need to, get everybody on the same device. Teachers have the same projectors, the same everything in the classroom, plus speakers and clocks, things that are end of life that need to be replaced. So, but that's pretty rough numbers, but good numbers at the same time. There's everything on there that we need. But,
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
And so, kind of, again, give some level of detail to all the different techniques that go on in the district. I think when COVID came and we all the kids learned from home and we taught from home and we did everything from home, technology use and needs just went way up. And now that we are back in the classroom, those needs really have not declined. And, maybe a little bit, but they're still there. So, this is a first attempt to put together a plan if we want to maintain that, what we need to do. On the next tab, another big kind of annual need is a curriculum adoption cycle, which Dr. Beatson would like to say a few words.
Sure. Ms. Rice was here at the last meeting, I believe, or the 2 meetings ago maybe, and talked with you about our projected curriculum adoption and needs. And so this is the same presentation pretty much. And basically, we have a lot of adoptions that will be coming up. This is all tentative based on the rollout from the state. But in addition to new adoptions, which can go from $200,000 to $400,000, depending on what it is, we also have ongoing costs. And so, for instance, an example of that is that our elementary math curriculum, the adoption cycle is over. So typically when you adopt a new curriculum, it comes paid, if you will, for X number of years, maybe 5 years or 7 years. You pay up front your $400,000. You may have to buy a little something, but it's paid. That has expired. We have been waiting for the new math framework, so we haven't adopted a new math curriculum, but we have to pay now every year to the company. So there's these ongoing costs that occur. So there's the new adoption costs, there's some ongoing costs, and then we have subscriptions and supplemental materials, online programs and things that have a yearly subscription. And so over the course of the next several years, we have quite a bit of adoption work to do as well.
Okay. And kind of an introduction into how the district maintains its school facilities. Is we wanted to do this slide on the status of our bond and our state facility construction projects. And so, as you guys know, the community several years ago passed a local facility bond that provided us $49.6 million to build classroom and school facilities. And so since then, we've had a few other grants and interest earnings to contribute towards state facility construction projects. And So that actually has brought it up to about 51.5 million. That's on that first line over in the total column. The other really big addition into our local school facility funding for school facilities is that state Proposition 51, those facility funds that our director of bond facility projects has been working with the consultant to go after. And so those are real dollars that the district has gone and applied for at the state, and we have brought those in there in our state facility account that we can use towards our school facility projects. And so the total of those two together, it's about $63 million. And what we did right about the same time that the community considered a school facility bond is we did our school facility master plan, which we will be forwarding to our new member on our facility steering committee. And for you will be getting one of these. And in this document, so it's been 6 or 7 years, so it needs to be freshened up a little bit, but for the most part, it's still pretty accurate. And in this document, we've documented the needs for 136 million. So we knew we went after and asked the community for what they would support, and we got what we could. So we have to prioritize what those projects are. And so we still have a lot to do. We'll be discussing what we have and what our needs are in that facility steering committee. But fortunately for our district, for our community, we had that local bond pass. And we're towards the end of spending those funds. The remaining funds that we have left in the bond, those are fully committed for the farmer project, the campus project there, and then a bunch of other projects at all the other school sites too. So it's fully committed out. And so we'll be talking about what the remaining needs are and what the next steps are with that. So without that, facility construction projects are very difficult to accomplish in using the general fund, because if you absent those funds, it would be a big drain on that. So that's the importance of trying to go after state facility funds, which are separate than the general fund. And then the last summary page in the packet is what school districts refer to as a 5-year deferred maintenance plan. So when a district does a bond and when we get state construction funds, the bond funds are for construction of things, the district still must maintain those ourselves. So maybe our director of maintenance, Mr. Romero, can come up and say a few words about our maintenance plan, which was just put together by our district architect, HY Architects. So this is really hot off the press, and the full document is a separate attachment in your board packet.
Good evening, President Zeta, board members, Dr. Wright, and his cabinet. Good evening, I'm Alfredo Romero. I have 8 pages of documents I'll read to you tonight. Really, we created this 5-year deferred maintenance plan with collaboration from our CBO, Tim Rahill, our bond director, Roxanne Egan, HY Architects, and myself. Together, we compiled a list of outstanding items and forecasted items in maintenance, which we added a range of proposed repairs. And if you look at the report, you can see that a lot of the items are similar from school site to school site. Some schools needing more attention than others, and those are noted in the report. On the summary page that we're viewing now, you get a bird's eye view of the maintenance needs district-wide. And as we plan every year for these items, we prioritize by many factors, including obviously the need, availability of capital, labor, materials, supplies, and time. Please feel free to review this at your leisure. And if you have any questions, maintenance, I'm always available. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, if you were to open up the 5-year plan that you have in your packet, kind of the big categories, it's like asbestos, it's lighting, electrical, floors, HVAC, painting, paving, plumbing, roofing, playground, wall systems, some furniture and equipment, classroom furniture, fencing, fields. The list goes on and on. And so that's what are the different types of works that Mr. Romero and his crew are tasked with taking care of. And there's an annual budget. It does not come close to addressing all of the needs that are in the plan, but we didn't want that the funding limitations to hold back on this document. So if we need to prioritize, that's something that we can do. And so those are just some added level of detail to kind of bring the needs to life. We'll be bringing these forward with the LCAP process again to use that as a resource as we take a look at that over the next 6 months. And so with that, I think I'll stop there. Like I said earlier, this is an interim report, just reporting out on our finances. We do have the required reserves. It's a positive certification. Once approved, we submit and file this report with the county office and the state of California. And then we come back to the board in March with the second interim financial report.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, can I get a motion to, go ahead.
I move that we approve the first interim report.
Thank you. May I get a second? Roll call? Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Rahal. And thank you, gentlemen, for presenting. Next up is 17B, consideration and approval of the updated course outline for the NGSS Integrated Science. Mrs. Rice is not here, so we're going to push it over to Dr. Beatson.
Hello again. Several years ago, quite a few years ago, actually, our high school science department had to update all of their courses to be in alignment with the new next generation science standards, the NGSS. And since then, the science team at the high school is amazing and has done a great job, but they have updated their 9th grade course. It was called, or it currently is called NGSS Physics. It's taught at the 9th grade. It's really an integrated science class. It is integrated with chemistry, earth science, and a little bit of physics. And so they've updated it to reflect more of what the standards are saying now that we know more about those standards. And it will continue to be a D lab. They've moved a few things around, but have updated the course outline and are asking for it to be called NGSS Integrated Science because it's more accurately reflective of what's taught, and also will help alleviate, we're hoping, some confusion because oftentimes parents think that the students have gotten a true full-on physics course at 9th grade, and that's really not what it is. And so students that are interested in that should still take the physics course later on. This course our Benicia Unified course hasn't been adopted by the UC system yet, but there is a course that mirrors this that has been adopted, so we have no doubt that this one will go through fine. So tonight I'm bringing this to you for your consideration and approval, which is an adjustment of the 9th grade course from NGSS Physics to NGSS Integrated Science.
Is there any discussion or questions? Okay. Can I get a motion, please?
I'll move to approve the updated course outline for NGSS Integrated Science 9.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
President Seda?
Yes.
Trustee Maselli?
Yes.
And Trustee Gross?
Yes.
Thank you. We're going to move on to letter C, and consideration and approval of the appointment of Community Advisory Committee representatives. Yes, and I'm going to turn it back over to Dr. Beatson.
So this is something that's done yearly, which is we appoint and ask for your approval of a staff to be the
person that sits on the advisory board for Solano Community Advisory Committee, the CAC. The purpose of that board is it's made up of parents, educators, and community members, and it provides input to the SELPA, the special ed group on special education and related services. And we were very excited and pleased to have Miss Erin Bieber, who is our teacher on special assignment working in special education, participate on that group on behalf of our district. And so we're just looking for your approval on that.
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, can I get a motion?
I'd like to move that we approve the appointment of Erin Bieber to the Community Advisory Committee.
Thank you. Can I get a second, please?
I'll second.
Roll call. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, moving down the line to item D, consideration and approval of the intent to employ with a provisional internship permit. And I'm going to turn this over to Dr. Wright.
All right, we're seeking consideration and approval for Ms. Koslick to serve as a third grade science teacher at Henderson. She's completed all of her coursework and is just finishing up in her exam. So in order for us to employ her from January to June, we would need the provisional internship permit.
Any questions? Okay, can I get a motion, please?
I move that we approve Nicole Koslick as the third grade teacher.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
I second.
Thank you. Roll call, please. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, item E, consideration and approval of the revised 2023-2024 calendar. And Dr. Wright, you're up again.
Yes, when we developed the calendar, there was a clerical error made on the 23-24 calendar. April 26th did not get counted as an instructional day or a student day. So we would need to add April 26th as an instructional day. And in doing that, we would need to remove another day from the second semester to ensure we'd have the appropriate number of student days throughout the year. So our Human Resources Department, they met with our unions and they agreed that March 11th to remove March 11th as that student day and add April 26th as that student day.
I'm just curious, why March 11th? Was there some special deal to it, or?
I think, I don't know. I think they just looked at the calendar and just felt that that was just a good break for the students and looking at the calendar. It had to be second semester because second semester is typically a little bit longer. Yeah.
Okay. I'll move that we approve the corrected 2023-24 calendar with the correct number of days.
I'll second that.
Okay, and roll call, please. Yes.
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 So that brings us to the end of our meeting. Thank you, everybody. Happy holidays. Enjoy your time with family and friends over these next few weeks. Good luck on finals next week, guys. And let's see each other in 2023. The next meeting date is January 19th. So we'll see you then. Thank you.